Shields with Coding Alternative. This is going to be episode 5 of our emotion code commentary. We're starting at the top of page 16, and we're actually going to just finish chapter 1 since it's only about 6 or 7 pages. So, top of page 16. Sharon's mother was a pain. A patient named Sharon came to my office one day complaining of pain in her abdomen. She told me that the pain felt like it was coming from her right ovary. I tested her to see if the cause of her pain was due to a trapped emotion, and found that it was. Further testing revealed that the exact emotion was frustration, that it had to do with her mother, and that it had become trapped in her body 3 days earlier. The moment I arrived at this determination, she became quite upset and angrily hissed, "Oh, my mother! She called me 3 days ago and dumped all this stuff on me. I wish she would just get out of my life and leave me alone." Now, none of us feel that way about, a family member or anybody, right? Only her. I released the trapped frustration from her body, and the pain instantly vanished. Sharon was amazed and could hardly believe that the pain was entirely and suddenly gone. Even more amazing to Sharon was the fact that her intense frustration with her mother was the apparent cause of the physical pain she had been suffering from for the last 3 days. Trapped emotions can often create muscular imbalances that lead to joint malfunction and eventual joint degeneration and arthritis. I have seen hundreds of cases where acute physical pain instantly left the body upon the release of a trapped emotion, and I have too. Like I've kind of commented in the last couple of videos that I've done. I've been doing this for about 2 years. Emmanuel's right there with me as well. About a year and a half, he's been doing this, and we've seen time and time again. I recall a specific situation where a lady came to me with joint pain in her hip. Her right hip had been killing her for the last couple of years, and in my experience, it usually takes like a couple more than just one emotion, to completely release it in order to get her out of physical pain. But from a 0 to 10 on a pain scale, 10 being the worst it had ever been, she was at an 8 with her right hip. And I released one trapped emotion that had to do with something similar to that. I can't remember if it was anger or frustration or something along those lines. It had to do with somebody else. But upon removing, releasing that one trapped emotion, this wasn't acute pain. This was at an 8 out of 10 and had been for years. It completely disappeared after one trapped emotion, and she never came back. And so I, obviously that's a rare case, and that's the ideal case that we have. Obviously, it takes some more, some more work in other cases to completely remove physical pain like that. But the effects are the same. Instant pain relief is very, very common with the release of just trapped emotions. And we're going to have another example, Jim's bad knees. Removing trapped emotions can often relieve pain and suffering, even in cases that would be considered hopeless by conventional medicine. This is a letter I received from a former patient whose case certainly fits this description. So this is a letter from Jim to Dr. Brad. I was your patient for a few years and know that I had many physical problems with my legs, knees, and back when I came to you. I was able to withstand the side effects of the various supplements you prescribed to cleanse my system, and then through your ability to release the resentments, anger, and fear that I was hanging on to, we were able to achieve a physical position where my knees stopped hurting. I had been told by my doctor that replaced my hips that my knees needed replacing because they were worn out also, and I was able to walk, climb stairs, etc., pain-free for the first time in years. To this day, I am basically active and pain-free. This is not to say that the arthritis doesn't come into play as I continue to grow older, but the worn-out knees are still working fine, and for that I am grateful. I wish you the best with your book and pray that it can open the door for others to a healthy life. Keep the faith, Jim H. So, amazing situations, and a lot of the people that I actually work with as well, they come to me and they come to Emmanuel because conventional medicine has turned them down. They've said, we can't do anything except for surgery or a lifetime of pain meds. And even then, that's not super promising. And so the majority of the people that we work with are people who have gone to these doctors, and the doctors haven't been able to do anything. And the majority of the time we find that it's due to trapped emotions. And so if you guys are suffering from physical pain, it's very, very likely that you have trapped emotions that also need to be released. People often put up with their pain and end up simply living with it, especially when they cannot find a solution or a reason for it. Pain is the body's way of telling you that there is a problem. It's a warning sign. In my experience working with people in pain, I've observed that trapped emotions are actually creating the pain at least 50% of the time. So here's another example of what this actually has to do with. Physical pain that one has lived with for almost their whole life due to simple trapped emotions. It's called pinned to the past. I was teaching in a workshop once in Las Vegas. Again, this is Dr. Brad, talking to us, and I've actually been to one of these workshops. They are absolutely incredible. I was teaching a workshop once in Las Vegas when I had an interesting experience. I asked for a volunteer, and a young woman in her early 20s came up out of the audience. I asked her if she had any particular physical complaints, and she said no, that she was healthy and had no problems. I muscle tested her to see if she had a trapped emotion, and she did. The emotion was unsupported, which is a feeling similar to being all alone and without help when you really need it. Through muscle testing, I asked her body when this emotion had become trapped. I asked, did this emotion become trapped within the last 5 years? No. Did this emotion become trapped between the ages 10 and 20? No. Did this emotion become trapped between the ages birth to 10? Yes. Did the emotion become trapped in the first 5 years of your life? Yes. Did the emotion become trapped in the first year of your life? Yes. Did the emotion occur after 1 year of age? No. I asked her if she had any idea what this might be about, and she shook her head no. It just so happened that this young woman had arrived at the workshop with her mother, and they had been sitting together in the audience. At this point, I looked out in the audience and noticed that her mother looked very uncomfortable. Her hand was covering her mouth, and and she looked either frightened or very embarrassed. I couldn't tell which. I asked her if she knew what this might have been, or what might have happened, since her daughter was too young to remember. In a very pained and embarrassed voice, she explained, well, when Jessica was a baby, I used cloth diapers, which I would close with safety pins. There was one particular occasion where I'm ashamed to say that I accidentally pinned her to her diaper. She cried and cried, but I didn't realize that she was pinned to her diaper until I changed her again. I can't believe this is showing up now, and I felt so horrible about it, and I still do. This is Dr. Brad again. I returned to Jessica and asked, is this what the trapped emotion is about? I pressed down on her arm, and it was very strong, indicating that this was indeed the case. I released the trapped emotional energy by rolling 3 times down her back with a magnet, and she sat down again. About 2 weeks later, I received the following email. Hi, Dr. Brad. When you were in Las Vegas, you cleared a trapped emotion for my daughter, Jessica, stemming from infancy. Jessica had suffered from hip and knee pain since about the age of 12 years old. 12 years. It has gotten worse as she got older. Since you worked on clearing her trapped emotion of feeling unsupported about 1.5 weeks ago, she has had no pain or constriction in her hips and knees. She has never gone more than a day or 2 without pain, and because it has worsened, it was beginning to affect her gait. She is ecstatic and now is experiencing a new sense of inner joy. She sends her heartfelt thanks. Jessica said, feel free to share her story. She is certainly telling everyone in Las Vegas about it. Thank you, Maureen C. So again, very incredible story about how a girl's knee and hip pain was caused by this trapped emotion. Now, I've seen this a lot, and I actually was at a conference last weekend where Dr. Brad himself actually spoke, and a couple of people afterward were asking questions. They didn't get to ask him personally, but as an emotion co-practitioner myself, I was able to answer some of their questions, and one of the questions was, is there a connection between where trapped emotions are located, causing physical pain? And I said that absolutely yes. In my experience, I found that if there's a weakened part of the body and an emotion is felt so incredibly strong, they usually latch to that that hurt part of the body, or that weakened part of the body. And in this case, where do you pin the diapers? You pin them on the hips, right? Kind of in the hip areas. At least that's what I had understood. And because the poor mom had pinned the poor baby to her diaper, or vice versa, pinned the diaper to the poor baby in the hip area, probably whatever hip was affecting her, the hip and knee, because that portion of her body was actually pinned to the diaper. She felt unsupported. She was sitting in this diaper until she needed to be changed again, and she cried until that time. And at that time, feeling unsupported, feeling all alone, feeling without any help, that emotion lodged right in that affected part of the area. And because it became trapped in that area, it had been sitting there for probably 10 plus years. She had had hip and knee pain since she was 12, and she was in her 20s. And so probably a good 10-ish years, maybe a little bit more, she'd been living with that pain, because that trapped emotion had been sitting in there for 20 years, if that makes any sense. And so very, very curious that, that this took place, but it's a very, very true thing. And Emmanuel and myself, we see it time and time again. So he continues, of course, not all physical pain is caused by trapped emotions, but isn't it interesting to contemplate that they can cause or contribute to physical pain? I have come to understand that trapped emotions seem to be involved, to one degree or another, in nearly every illness I have encountered. How is this possible? So he's going to go on to talk about trapped emotions and disease. And again, we're at the top of page 21. The most ancient idea in the art of healing is that disease is caused by imbalance in the body. Trapped emotions are perhaps the most common type of imbalance that human beings suffer from. I believe that trapped emotions can be implicated in nearly all diseases, either directly or indirectly. Because trapped emotions are nearly invisible, and because they always create distortion in the energy field of the body, and because they are completely invisible, they can cause an incredibly wide variety of physical problems without being unmasked. Trapped emotions are truly epidemic, and they are insidious, invisible. They are the insidious, invisible cause of much suffering and illness, both physical and emotional in nature. Trapped emotions lower immune function and make the body more vulnerable to disease. They can distort the body tissue, block the flow of energy, and prevent normal functions of organs and glands. On the following page is a list of conditions and diseases that my patients have come to me with, where trapped emotions appeared as a contributing factor, and many times the entire cause of the condition. Now, this is Dr. Bradley Nelson's list, and just by looking over it, I've actually dealt with about 80% of this particular list that I'm going to read off to you. And in the 80% of this list that I've actually dealt with personally with other people, trapped emotions have always been a contributing factor. So here we go. Acid reflux, ADD and ADHD, allergies, abdominal pain, asthma, back pain, Bell's palsy, cancer, carpal tunnel, chest pain, chronic fatigue, Crohn's disease, colitis, constipation, depression, diabetes, dyslexia, eye pain, fibromyalgia, frigidity, headaches, heartburn, hip pain, hypoglycemia, impotency, infertility, insomnia, irritable bowel syndrome, joint pain, knee pain, learning disabilities, low back pain, hypothyroidism, lupus, migraines, multiple sclerosis, neck pain, night terrors, panic attacks, Parkinson's disease, phobias, shoulder pain, sinus problems, tennis elbow, vertigo, just to name a few. And again, about 80% of these I've actually dealt with and actually have been able to help people with, just by releasing the trapped emotions. Now he goes on to say, I'm not saying that the release of trapped emotions is a cure-all. The emotion code should not be used by itself in attempting to address any major disease or medical condition, but rather it should be looked upon as an adjunctive therapy. When trapped emotions are contributing to physical illness, removing them can only help. The emotion code is an easy way to use and precise. It's easy to use and precise, sorry. Sometimes the release of trapped emotions will bring about an instantaneous and dramatic effect, but most of the time the effects are more subtle, yet they always seem to bring a greater sense of contentment and peace, whether they are immediate or gradual. If you are like many of the people who have come to my seminars over the years, using the emotion code will bring you a new joy and freedom to your life. It will give you a greater feeling of serenity because you will feel freeing. You will be freeing yourself from old emotional baggage. The results can bring balance, a new inner calm, and profound healing where nothing else has before. And again, many people have come to us because they can't find any kind of help besides pain medication or antidepressants or whatnot. And the emotion code is just that. It's that perfect. It's not perfect. Sorry. I say perfect a lot. I probably should stop. But it's an incredible tool that allows us to identify that emotional baggage, which is indeed contributing to a lot of things that are wrong with us. And Dr. Brad says about 90% of everything that is wrong with us is due to that emotional baggage. And the emotion code is just that. It's an adjunctive therapy that helps us identify and release that baggage, which is contributing to anything and everything that is wrong with us. And so Emmanuel's going to pick up beginning chapter 2 on page, oh my goodness, about 25 There's a quote by Thomas Edison on 25, and then we'll start chapter 2 on 27 next time. But in between that, we're actually going to show the video from Dr. Brad when he came to this conference in Provo, Utah. And so I'm actually going to upload that video, and so you guys will be able to kind of see that between these these episodes with the Emotion Code commentary. And anyway, we look forward to that. But of course, we want you to share this. We want you guys to have this experience together. We want you to read along, read the book while you're listening to the commentary. And of course, we want you to share this with your friends and family so that they can also benefit from this reading as well as the stories in the book, because the personal accounts from these people as well as our commentary is what's going to kind of bring this alive. And so wish you guys well. Talk to you soon, and of course, subscribe. Bye.